Angela,
Yes.
we're live. How are you?
Hi. How are you?
Sorry for that. I probably put you in a trance with my, wild clicking, but I didn't have any of my stuff downloaded. I was ill prepared. I'm a bad dude.
You're forgiven. Um, this person on the one of these astrology groups.
Mandy and Guilty and Cosmic just showed up. Hello, Sydney, said Cosmic. And Erica. Sweet. What's up, guys? It's so good to see you guys. What were we saying, Angela?
Nothing special. I was just saying that there was this lady who was on one of these astrology groups, and she posted her boyfriend's chart, and asked what about his chart can we see that he's really abusive and controlling.
Yeah.
And terrible, and obviously she should just leave instead of asking astrology questions.
Right.
But his chart is almost exactly like Celine Dion's.
Oh.
And it just makes you think the whole thing's fake.
It does.
Yeah.
Erica says, no verdict yet.
No verdict yet. Nope.
And Guilty Angel says, something happened cosmically and I just had to wait it out. She was having a rough time. Her time is not so rough anymore. Yeah, well, there was a lot of martial energy, a lot of wild martial energy. Martial meaning Mars. Mars being bad. And usually bad in the way of confrontational or you know what I mean?
If you feel like you get yanked around by the daily astrology, you should keep a journal.
Yes.
And write down how you feel and then what the aspects are of the day. There's a bunch of websites where they'll just tell you what's going on in the day. And then just keep that as a journal. And then before long, you'll be able to notice the patterns, and then you can predict how the astrology is going to affect you and plan.
Cosmic says, so astrology is caca? Well,
no, it's just, so her story is
there's some rough stuff going on, and there's going to be some rough stuff going on for a little bit.
I think they were talking about how this guy has the same chart as Celine Dion,
but
behaves totally differently.
Oh, yeah.
But, if you lived with life circumstances where you felt trapped and you were in a relationship that didn't suit you, and you had a bunch of trauma that happened in your younger life, and you were not Celine Dion, I'm sure even if you had Celine Dion's chart, you wouldn't behave the same way as she would,
Of course not. Of course not. Karen Reed sits in wait.
Well, so I learned about the jury deliberations from last time.
So there was they
didn't have any questions today, and people are like, is that bad? Well, the last time they didn't have any questions for the court until day 3, and it was day 5 that they determined they were a hung jury last time.
Wild. I mean, I don't know what to make of any of it for them. It's crazy, but
they're definitely incentivized to figure it out in the next couple days, because they're taking Thursday and Friday off at the court.
Oh, they are? Fuck, they take a lot of breaks, man.
I know.
They say judges, they got to do a lot of paperwork. They do, but they get Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Monday off, and then they roll in at 10 o'clock on the other days. And I'm not saying they're not hardworking.
I don't think
people.
They're going to the beach. They're probably just doing court work.
Gardening, bird watching. What every fucking sane person would be doing.
Yeah, they're just not calling the jury in for deliberations. But they probably don't want to hang on to this for another long weekend, so.
We got some good folks over happening in TikTok land. Jenna's there, and Ben Hubbard is there, and I think I saw some other old friends there that I just missed. Let's see. Almost Baked. I got you beat. Almost Baked is with us. So many others. Come check it out, Angela. We got people everywhere. We're so excited. Do you want to get into the notes first, or do we go right into the Karen Reed trial, which obviously there's not much to get into in terms of just waiting, but there is more and more to talk about. We were watching. It's not that there's more and more to talk about. I can't get over fucking Higgins. So here's the thing about Higgins, and I should have tuned this up. Maybe I can still go look for it, but Higgins, in his testimony in the first trial, obviously he didn't testify in the second trial, which I'm not sure I understand the wisdom behind that. You have cops on the ropes, put them on the stand. But anyway, especially with that guy concealing evidence, doing anything else. Although, well, I'll get to that in a second. when he's testifying about John O'Keefe's niece and nephew, it is a niece and nephew, isn't it?
Yes.
When he is testifying about those children, he cracks up and cries. And it is very easy. Yep, Higgins on the stand. And it is very easy to like immediately go, well, of course he is. It's a tragedy. It's a horrible tragedy. I don't believe those are the tears that I'm watching. I just don't. And this is all opinion. But I believe when I watched those tears, I saw tears of regret. I do believe that this man, I do believe in a very reasonable possibility that this man, he tackled him and he took him to the ground and his head hit the ground and it broke. And it was an accident. And that's why I believe, again, this is all obviously opinion, but that's why I believe that so many people are willing to cover for him. Because the witnesses were there. It was an accident. He doesn't deserve to have his life thrown away.
It does make sense.
And Karen's a bitch.
It makes sense that they would cover for him more if it was an accident than if he deliberately tried to harm him.
I kept asking myself, like, what would make cops cover for cops, like, in such a, like, not, there's a certain amount of, like, unity, right, to a police force. But there's, when it gets this crazy, like, we're talking about a woman going down for 25 to life. What would make somebody do that? And I think there's two things. First thing is we also had, or the other thing is that we also had, I can't remember which cop, testifying and calling what Karen was doing as baiting. These are my words. I'm paraphrasing, but just basically saying that Karen Reed had been baiting him or just like, trying to cause the trouble between Higgins and O'Keefe. So there was an officer, I can't remember who he was, who testified to that. Do you remember that? No. Okay. So there was an officer that testified when he was asked about seeing these texts and basically what he made of of them. He testified that he thought that they were very plainly Karen Reed trying to bring Higgins into the situation and bring him and ultimately expose him to trouble.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's why they felt like they were going to succeed at framing her, because she had created this weird love triangle.
Right. That's what I'm saying. They were like, I think that gives them the like sort of like a bit of the green light. I mean, there's a bunch of things that gives them the green light. First of all, there's a dead guy.
And she's also wasted.
Yeah. And also, I think that they didn't intend to frame her. I think that they intended to frame the plow driver.
Yeah.
I think they intended to make it out to be an accident that John O'Keefe had in a drunken, carrying his glass out there, night. After Karen left him, he went wandering out like a fool in a blizzard. Got himself clipped by
a snowplow.
A snowplow.
Yeah.
And then when Karen Reed showed up and all but confessed on those cameras by saying things like,
grief-stricken and confused.
Did I hit him?
How did he end up here? Did I hit him?
Run over his foot? She said.
Right.
I love that she said run over his foot too. I thought that was pretty cool. Just because it's like, there would be an injury there, wouldn't there? Well, maybe not. So, that's it. That's my whole theory on this case. I believe that Mr. Higgins confronted John. There was a confrontation that got wily, that got the dog, raunchy, at or during the attack by Higgins. The attack was just a wrestling move, like he showed in the bar. If you take somebody down like that, and they don't know how to break fall, their head's going to hit first. Yep. So when you look at the defense's, animation of what they say, all the experts who are qualified in the trial to opine on what injury what was the injury that caused the death and how did it happen of John O'Keefe.
He fell straight back.
They all believe that he fell straight back.
Yeah. And
cracked his head.
Yeah.
So what first of all, what causes a person to fall backwards and not break their own fall anyway. Like, you know, when you're trained in fighting, and maybe John O'Keefe was, you learn how to break fall with your arm. But
not if you're drunk.
Even
not if you're super drunk.
Even if you're okay, but you're still gonna try to.
You're gonna be
something.
like real loosey goosey. So striking your head when you fall back on your shoulders is definitely easy to do.
I don't think it's easy. I think the only way that you can really do it is by slipping severely. I've seen people do it. So just just hit a patch of ice, but there wasn't any of that for him to hit. So that wasn't it. And then the other thing is being taken down in a double. And the reason is because when you're taken down, and especially if it's quick, if it's a fast takedown, like if he gets up and walks towards him and then just swoops down and takes him down, he won't have the time necessarily, especially drinking, to break that fall.
I also think that it's possible if he got lunged at by a dog, he could have like tripped over his feet backing up and tripped and fell like that too.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm less concerned about how it did happen and more concerned about how they're saying it happened that it didn't. They didn't have a single expert say that it looked like he was struck by a car.
No.
They didn't have a single expert who could explain why he didn't have grass in his wound.
No. Nancy on TikTok is saying, I thought he was found prone, face down. He was.
Right.
What we're talking about is a scenario where he was killed in the garage.
And here's the thing. If you were going to try and say that he was struck by a plow, right? Say that you did like place a body and try and create his final resting place, right?
Okay.
If you want to say that he was struck by a plow and that's what caused the wound on the back of his head, because
right.
they could see there was a big wound on the back of his head.
Right.
You would probably place him face down so that he could get struck by the side of the plow.
Right.
Right at his head. Right? And that would cause the injury and it would make him fall forward.
And just in case you didn't hear that on TikTok, Angela's saying that if you were going to try to plan a scenario where it looked as if John O'Keefe got clipped by a plow on the back of his head and knocked him face down. In other words, what she's saying is if your scenario is that he got clipped with a plow, a big high blade on a plow, that would cause him to fall forward or to stumble forward.
End up on his stomach.
And end up on his stomach, which is the way they found the body. However, none of the experts agree that that's what could have happened. They all agree that he fell backward and hit his head.
I don't understand the defense's case because they really should have made a bigger deal of the forensic evidence on his body, right?
Right.
Somebody online was saying that he had vomit in his on his shorts, his underwear. If he sat forward, he had blood down his whole back, almost all the way down to
why isn't that in evidence?
To the waistband of his pants, you know?
Why isn't that
down
in
the
evidence?
back of his shirt? So how could he have? It's like he they think he fell various ways, but none of the ways that they're saying he might have fallen would account for all of this blood and vomit down his body. Did they prop him up trying to revive him?
You keep saying vomit. I've never heard that evidence actually.
They said he had vomit all down the front of his
they?
shirt. People who had saw the first trial. I guess there was more evidence in the first trial. I didn't see the first trial.
I never heard about vomit.
I mean,
you've said it a couple of times, and I am so confused by it because you would think that why would that not be?
My point for
admitted?
bringing it up is I don't know why this jury isn't seeing more of that, because it really does make more doubt in the prosecution's case.
I agree. If you put Higgins on the stand, especially with the new tape, what are you doing there?
Yeah, why is he at the...
What is that? Is that that?
Why did he drive to the police station in a blizzard?
What's that bag called?
A duffel bag?
No, the bag.
Oh, well, they don't know what he took, but they think he took a Faraday bag.
The Faraday bag.
Because there are Faraday bags stored in that... Well, I don't know.
So some think it's possible that he's a Faraday bag.
Maybe people are guessing. I don't know.
So some say it's possible he had a Faraday bag. Mm-hmm. There was all these... I just don't understand why you don't put Higgins on the stand when you have motive. He brought Higgins up in his closing arguments, did Jackson. So why not put him on the stand? He's a bad witness for the prosecution. That's why they didn't put him on the stand. There's no benefit for the prosecution, and I see nothing but benefit for Karen Reed. So I do wonder why. And obviously, look, those guys are absolute fucking brilliant attorneys. So my second guessing them is hilarious.
Yeah.
Just want to get that on the record.
I feel the same way too. I'm like, I don't get it. I wouldn't have done that, but who would ever ask me to, you know?
You know, look, I know I'm not smarter than Brennan. I feel smarter than Brennan. I know I'm not, but I feel like I am. Because I thought he was just awful in this trial.
I think that you're way smarter
Strategically.
in that you would never have a closing argument where you would repeatedly say, we don't know.
We don't know.
We don't know whether it was here or if it was there. We don't know how he landed. We don't know how.
We don't know how far he was from this. We don't know how far he was from that.
We don't know.
We don't know how far all the splinters traveled. We don't know anything.
Yeah.
What we know is that Karen Reed murdered her husband. I mean, her boyfriend. We know that. We don't know anything else. We literally don't know anything else. We don't know where he was standing. Literally, his expert shows up and says, well, I'm only going to put this blue paint on my hand because we don't know anything.
Because I can't run any tests.
Because I can't run any tests. And the only thing we see are injuries on his hand that I'm just going to say, for the sake of saying it, are consistent with his arm being struck by a taillight, with absolutely nothing to substantiate or prove any of that.
Just his arm, not any other part of his body.
Just his arm. At 24 miles an hour.
Even though there's bumpers all around the back of the car. Nothing had touched the bumper.
Listen, lightning in a bottle happens. But like, and it can make cases hard to make.
Well, then you don't send somebody to prison for it.
Yeah.
Like, Delicate said, I fell straight back and hit my head on cement when I was in my 20s because I fainted. That's
oh my
horrible.
God.
I had to go to the ER and get staples, and I had memory loss for like 4 hours.
Yeah. So I hit a lighter surface than that, and I had, but I don't know how many stitches. I still have the scar. You want to see it? You want to see it?
Can you show it?
No, I don't think so. It's on the back of my head, and you know, I got pushed down, and I wasn't able to I'd also almost lost consciousness, and then I got pushed down, and then my head hit and smack, and it was a bloody mess, mate.
My parents tell stories about how we were in a horrible car accident, and we flipped the car, and I flew through the windshield.
Oh my God.
When I was a baby.
Yeah, Angela flew through the windshield.
That's
of
the
a
way
car
that they
as a
put
child.
it. Flew through the windshield.
And Angela, once in a while,
and they went and they found me. Like, they had to like crawl out of the car, you know? It was all banged up, and they found me like by the road.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know, my parents, they get emotional when they tell the story because it must have been absolutely traumatic. But they said they were sure I was dead. I was covered in blood.
Yeah.
But you know, maybe I'm brain damaged.
I like it.
But I have scars.
If you are, I like it.
Apparently, my older sisters have traumatic memories of having this like little toddler running around with like horror movie scars all over.
Well,
my
I was
head.
about to say is like, you know, Angela once in a while, every now and again, she'll just shave her head. She'll be like, you know, I'm sick of hair, and then she'll just shave her head, and she looks great, by the way. But
it shows off all the scars.
It all shows, all the scars show up. Yeah, there's like just an absolute like crazy amount of scars from when you were ejected from a car as a child.
It's weird that I survived. It's also weird that I didn't suffer more like injury, and it's super weird that I didn't get any scars on my face.
Shall we look at some of these comments? I think we have lots.
Sure.
Do you want to start at TikTok or the other?
Cosmic Urgency on YouTube is saying, there was this short-lived show in like the 2000s that showed you the trial, and then after the verdict, they would show you what really happened. I loved it, and it's annoying it doesn't happen in IRL.
Yeah, that is really cool.
What is that called?
I'm trying to remember. I do remember that.
You know it?
Yeah. Well, I remember it. Yeah, I have a faint memory of this. Or you just installed that memory, which is totally plausible. That's a plausible thing. I've heard this. This is true. You can just fucking install memories into people, and then they're just like, well, okay, yeah, man, that was me. Remember that? It was a good time. Mm-hmm.
Juanita's with us on TikTok.
Hi, Juanita.
Said, my son's name is Dale.
Oh, hello to Dale from Dale. There's so few of us, really. There aren't many Dales, especially ones that aren't from the South. I'm not from the South. I'm in the South, but I'm not from the South.
It's a pretty country kid name.
It's a country kid name, yeah. Mm-hmm. Dale. Get over here, Dale.
Dale, you put that down before you get tetanus.
I used to hate my name. This is a fact. I used to fucking loathe my name. I was like, Dale. Who calls it a fucking one syllable name?
It's not a great name for a young guy.
No.
No.
One syllable
That's
name?
an old man's name.
It was not fun. all hanging out with all like the
I like it because it's unique though,
Jeffs
and it's also it's sweet. Like there would never ever 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 be a villain named Dale.
or a cop for that matter.
Like it's a nice person's name. Like Dale is harmless always.
Dale's a harmless name. You don't feel like you know if you make a villain and you call him Dale, you're weakening him immediately.
That's right.
It weakens him.
It's a friendly name.
It's a friendly name. It's not an intimidating name. It might be also a mundane, like totally like whatever in the background white paint name. You know.
I also really like that it's also a very unique girl's name, and
With
so
a
I think
Y?
that sweetens it even more.
Dale Evans. Mm-hmm. Well, I'm so glad you named your child Dale because I think there should be more of us. The world is better as long as there's at least a few Dales in it.
Elliot on TikTok.
I
Sorry, I'm
always say.
screwing up this username. I still think Colin has to be involved or they wouldn't have covered it up.
Well, I just don't understand the whole Colin cover up. I got to get into it, I guess, because I just don't understand it entirely. Like, I understand that there's an allegation that Colin was involved in some kind of drug dealing or something.
Right. That John O'Keefe was investigating.
And that there was John O'Keefe investigating that. There's just nothing that proves that.
No. It's a conspiracy.
It's a very conspiracy. Like, if there was like even like an iota of somebody else saying something with credibility about it, I would like start eating some of that. But it looks like it's bad. Looks like it's bad info.
Juanita said, I believe it was an alcohol-induced fight, accidental, but 100% it happened in that house.
Yes, me too. That's what I believe. I believe it happened in that garage. I believe it because it also makes sense because a garage is going to get cold, but it's not going to get freezing. Your core temperature is not going to drop rapidly like it would if it were laying completely on a frozen ground or a ground freezing.
Yeah.
And getting whipped with wind and snow.
It also makes sense that may have been where they stored the dog when they had guests over. Like just stick the dog in the garage and maybe he walked straight into that room.
He might have been ambushed into that room. He might have been told to go in that room. There's just so many things we can't possibly know.
That's weird.
But
Nancy
I do believe
said,
that in that house.
But why would Higgins be mad at John? I thought Karen Reed was afraid Higgins would tell John O'Keefe the truth.
Well, how can I explain this? Men are fucking stupid. Like what? Especially when it comes to like what they might call chivalry, or what they might think is, or what they might think is right and proper. Right. Like he might be thinking, By the way, we don't know what they said, what was said between Higgins and Karen Reed when they were together alone, when they weren't on the phone.
Well, but also it's interesting because Nancy's saying maybe Higgins was going to tell John O'Keefe the truth, and I can imagine a fight coming out of that.
Yeah.
If Higgins was like, yo, your girl is cheating on you.
Yeah.
And then John O'Keefe was like, how do you know that? And then Higgins was like, she was with me. Right? Like, I can imagine how that would start a big fight.
Yeah, sure.
Between two dudes.
But I'm telling you though,
drunk.
I can tell you about there's this thing about men where they're like, this guy has this machismo shit going on. He's like talking about like, he's a wrestler. I don't know if you knew a lot of wrestlers in your life, but they're kind of they have like there's like almost like a common theme in terms of like, I don't want to call it aggression, but like, almost like controlled aggression, I suppose. Mm-hmm. Like they're ready to go at any minute. Wrestlers, they're just always ready to go. It's like, especially, and he's a cop on top of it. But again, we don't know what his idea of chivalry is. We don't know what Karen Reed said to him when they were alone. We don't know that he doesn't think that he's been mistreating her, or didn't think that he'd been mistreating her. Or we also don't know that he just in his own head didn't concoct some kind of story that people do constantly, and I'm a fucking victim of this, where people sit around and they make a story up in their head. They're just going to make a story up in their head because what he needs is a reason to take that man down. What he needs is a reason to break them up so that he could sweep Karen off her feet and have her forevermore. All he has to do is have a good enough fucking reason. It's exactly what Tobey Maguire did to me. He literally needed to create a good enough reason to completely destroy my life, even if it wasn't true. And he was able to convince other people of it, even though it wasn't true. And they participated in the destruction of my life as a result of it. So it is entirely possible that Higgins just sat around and made up in his fucking head this idea of what John O'Keefe was, and that he was going to set it straight, and that he was going to win the girl, and he was going to unhitch that trailer from him. Entirely possible. Watch the way the guy talks.
You know what's weird?
What?
Is it like online the people who think that she's guilty think that we're nuts for coming up with these conspiracy theories? But we're made to, because what they said happened did not happen. What the prosecution is alleging just simply did not happen. He was not struck by a car.
Everybody who's
watched... we have to come up with all of these conspiracy theories about why we ended up in this place where she's put on trial and, she's framed. It's just like, it's not our fault that we have to try and figure out how this could have happened. It didn't happen how
they've had 3 years and 2 trials to make their case. Mm-hmm. And the case that jury is undecided on right now is a fucking joke.
Yeah.
It's a joke. I just wonder if is somebody out there in that jury who just dug in because they just want to be dug in on this situation? Alyssa's here, by the way. Hello, Alyssa.
Hi,
Cosmic
everybody.
is here. All the gang. We got Delicate and Erica. The whole gang is over there.
Nancy said if he slipped and fell backwards outside, he'd be supine, face up. So if he had a base skull fracture, what hit his head from behind?
Well, what his head in the front too? Sure.
Right.
He didn't see
something hit his eye orbit enough to. He had a laceration over his eye, but he didn't have any damage to his nose or his brow.
But there was a piece of glass in it.
So people, but no, I mean, if he actually struck something with his whole head
right.
in the front in order to create that laceration,
sure.
His nose and his eyebrow would have shown it.
No, that's brow. More like a knuckle. That's consistent with a knuckle.
Getting punched, yeah.
Yeah, it's like getting punched.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Juanita said that the judge stopped a lot of evidence. Do you think that that's why we're not hearing about? It was really interesting that the jury only saw the back of his shirt.
Thanks for the follow.
Because the jury only saw the back of John O'Keefe's shirt in evidence because Brennan made that mistake or was intentionally misleading them about how the holes got on the back of the shirt.
Right.
And so they weren't even going to see the back of the shirt before then.
Right.
So that might have been suppressed evidence.
Well, look, I don't know. I can't explain why judges rule on evidence. I thought that this judge was entirely biased throughout the trial that I watched. I watched a good bit of the trial. And by a good bit, I think I watched at least 70% of the entire trial. The other 30%, I was trying to fucking get myself ready for this, the laughs. But I watched 70% of the trial, I would say, or even more. And I would say that I feel confident that in the 70% of the trial I watched, clearly the majority of the trial, that judge was biased. I believe that the judge was sustaining the fuck out of the defense and sustaining the prosecution and overruling the defense. And I just on a constant basis is what I saw.
I noticed too.
The expert was where it really blew my mind. When you have an expert as qualified as the medical examiner, whose name now escapes me, but if you remember, if you saw the trial, the defense put up an expert who is absolutely renowned in her field. She is arguably the best medical examiner in America, but she's certainly, according to Jackson, as spoken in the trial, the best on the Eastern Seaboard. And not only that, but she had so somebody looked it up for us while we were on our lives. There's something in the neighborhood of less than 50 fatalities by dog bites a year in the United States, all of the United States. This expert that this judge denied being a dog bite expert had done over 50 autopsies on dog bite fatalities and supervised at least 75 more autopsies on dog bite fatalities. That is the equivalent of doing 125. That's the equivalent of doing almost 3 times the actual whole country's sort of yield in this horrible stat. She's an expert. And she was recognized as an expert by the federal government in a federal trial, as a dog bite expert. So that this judge would not let her opine on dog bites was amazing to me, and really fucked up. Like really fucked up. Like to me, it showed cards. I gotta say that Cosmic Urgency he just said something so funny, and I don't want to lose it. He said, this is on TikTok, guys. He said, why do wrestlers show their junk off? It's weird. They do. They seem to. They really got a prominent crotchal region.
You mean in their wrestling outfit?
Yeah, I know they're wearing a cup, but
no, but you can't wear clothes when you're wrestling.
It's very funny. That was a funny thing. Everybody should laugh. I don't understand why this jury hasn't come back with not guilty yet.
Can I handle this for you?
Yeah, thanks.
Because you're like...
I am squinting, it's true. I have 55-year-old eyes. They're antiques.
Jen Kelly's with us on TikTok said Higgins is going to flip first, I think. And this is really intriguing to me.
I'm telling you, I want to say it again. Those tears were deep, deep regret.
Okay, but listen.
Yeah.
So the FBI hired ARCA.
Yes.
To do accident reconstruction.
Oh, this is so juicy. Yes.
And ARCA did not find that these injuries were caused by a car.
Nope.
So the FBI has gotten that information.
Yes.
The FBI has gotten their experts to tell them.
That's right.
That this is not the way things seem.
This is a very important distinction right now. Like Angela's like nailing this. The FBI hired ARCA to tell a story, and the story that came back is not what the Commonwealth has charged. So I think you're right. I think the FBI still has a very, very deep interest in not just the outcome of this trial, but in these facts.
But the FBI is going to want to know who is killing cops in Canton, Massachusetts.
Mandy's here. The party's on, guys. Yes.
Lala81 says, and we will never know because the basement in that house was replaced.
This is what's crazy to me. This is why I don't understand why they didn't put this on the stand. The basement was replaced. Higgins took his phone to a base, and like I think it's a military base. I don't know.
It was an army base.
Was it army? Took it to an army base and disposed it in one of their dispensaries. And in an army-based dispensary, phone dispensaries, the phones are destroyed. You know, because they could potentially contain.
Is it a dispensary? No.
It's not a dispensary.
Because they don't dispense.
No, it's not a dispensary. It's the opposite of a dispensary.
What is that called?
A
receptacle?
A receptacle. He put it in a receptacle.
In a trash receptacle?
Well, it's not just a trash receptacle because it's like a place where you put your phones.
I don't think it was just for phones. I think he knew that it was going to be incinerated trash.
Oh.
So it was like a dumpster that they incinerate.
I'm making up stories. Come here if you don't want the facts.
Hey, Jenna wants to know that if Cosmic Urgency is Scott Bloom, is he forgiven?
No.
It's not so easy, Cosmic Urgency.
No.
Andrea Spencer said, most people I've heard say Dale put an extra syllable in it.
Dale.
Dale?
Dale. Dale. That's really funny. By the way, thank you for coming by and hanging out with us on TikTok and, of course, on YouTube. I'm Dale Wheatley, and I wrote this book behind me called Too Real, a Hollywood Memoir. It's about Leonardo DiCaprio doing his damnedest to ruin my life and doing a pretty good job at it. He called me a thief and a liar in a documentary, and I decided to write a book about it. Check it out. The reviews are really, really good. Got a really good one recently, actually. Really happy about it. Thanks for stopping by. This is brought to you by that. And, oh, by the way, all of this is just a bunch of opinions and whatever. It's entertainment and shit like that. Let's go. It's like, you got to do a little
Nancy said,
housekeeping.
if there's no exact evidence of her car versus John O'Keefe, how can it be taking the jury so long?
I don't understand what's taking this jury so long.
Well, because they have 30 days of evidence to go over.
So what?
Everybody is just going to go, they're just going to go over the evidence.
There was no collision.
They want to make sure that they're doing a diligent job because juries take their job seriously.
What do you think the jury is thinking about as regards this other entity? Because the jury does not know that it's the FBI. I guess it's inferred. Is it? Like, do you think the jurors know who ordered the ARCA
No, and I think that that's probably very easily overlooked because they simply said it was another agency.
Well, he emphasized it, did Jackson, in the closing.
Yes,
He
another.
did. He
But
did.
if you
He
say
did weigh on
if
it.
you say another agency, you're not being asked to find out what that is. You're just being told.
He said another entity.
Okay,
It didn't even say agency.
I
It
just
could have
feel
been
like
a person.
the jury is going to be like, okay, well, let's focus on other things because obviously this isn't information that we're supposed to know.
Because that's huge, right? Like if I knew that, I do know that, and that weighs heavy on my choice on this, doesn't it? You?
That the FBI. No, it doesn't, because ARCA does accident reconstruction for defense attorneys and
Yeah,
prosecutors.
but the only reason the
everybody.
FBI is going to be doing it is because they're looking at it as a potentially cop killing cop situation or something like that.
Right.
That's why the FBI is doing it. The FBI is doing it because it would then look at it would become a federal situation potentially.
I know. I just don't think that it matters to the jury because what does matter for this case is, do you think that Karen Reed is guilty, or do you think that she's innocent? And so whether ARCA was hired by some other entity is like irrelevant information. They exist. They opined on the case. They ran their tests here. Like, that's what matters.
You're right.
Nancy was saying if there's no evidence of her car hitting John O'Keefe, how can the jury be taking so long? Well, I was really glad to be told earlier that the jury took 5 days last time, and they were a hung jury. But they also were only hung on one of the charges, and they acquitted her on 2 of them. So I feel like if they take a little while longer, it doesn't mean that they're reaching a guilty verdict. It just means that they're deliberating.
Yeah, it's just I agree with the incredulity around why this jury hasn't come back yet. It's to me, I expected them to be back today. I said that on Friday. I thought that by the end of the day, this was going to be a wrap. I'm stunned it's not a wrap, and I don't know what they could be weighing, because there's nothing on the body that says it got hit by a car. So I just don't know what the
There's
fuck you're
nothing on
waiting
the car that said it hit a giant dude.
Okay, but
You know what I'm
even if
saying?
you want to believe the taillight had some kind of interaction,
But like not
it
the
has
bumper,
to interact with something.
not the bumper or any other panel in the back of that car.
So I'm saying
Come on.
it didn't interact. That taillight didn't interact with a human being. It didn't. You know, we all saw the fucking tapes. They watched it more than we did. You know?
Oh, Zane Baby on TikTok is saying, I don't think the Bryans were involved. I think Chloe, the dog, knocked him down as he went in the garage.
Well, it's a reasonable theory to think that but the problem is, why cover it up? Why cover it up? Here's the thing, like the
reason why.
In my conspiracy theory, the issue I have is that there's no reason why everybody's going to join up and cover up and then pin it on an innocent woman. Like an accident caused by a dog, and they're going to let a woman
No, here's the thing.
go down for it. It doesn't make sense to me.
This is my suspicion. Cops in America are protected by qualified immunity, right? And so they have this whole thing where they go through training, they get this job, they know that they don't ever have to be responsible for anything that happens in the course of their work. So they can commit crimes, they can steal money from people, they can visit the wrong house and abuse and even injure the inhabitants of that house. It doesn't matter. Qualified immunity means that they don't get charged for anything. It's horrible. If there was one thing I don't
entirely believe that, but go ahead.
If there's one thing I would run for if I was running for president, it would be to end qualified immunity because it's a huge problem. So what I'm saying is, this is a culture of people who don't feel like they should be held accountable for anything that they do wrong. And we know that Chloe, the dog, had a bite history that was known to the authorities. So they were harboring what the authorities would know is a dangerous dog. And once your dog has a bite history that's recorded, then you get no grace for any harm that dog does. And so I think it was just as easy as they were going to get in trouble for their dog attacking somebody and harming them, and they didn't want to be held accountable for it because they're cops.
I'm not going to buy any of that. I don't buy it because I don't. No, I don't buy any of that. They're not going to fucking put a woman in jail for 25 to life because
they were
their
gonna
dog.
They were going to try and say that he got hit by a plow and that it was a big accident.
No,
and nobody's at fault.
Well, still, they're not going to let it go down this way.
They
Somebody
didn't
would
want it
have
to happen in
cracked
his
by
house,
now.
is what he's saying.
This is the second trial, and somebody would have cracked by now. That's too weak. Somebody cracks under that kind of pressure.
Yeah, but these are cops we're talking about.
No, man, I don't buy any of that.
Cops don't play by the rules, bro.
I don't buy. I know they don't. They're clearly not. But I do think that there's a line, and I don't think that I think that line gets
blue line. You know,
I don't buy any of that. I literally don't buy any of that. I believe that they have, their motive has to be, there has to be a reason why.
It's not just the dog.
It can't be just the dog, because I believe that there's somebody there, at least one person with half a conscience. So if it was because Higgins took John down and John just went straight down and his head hit, there would be no intention on Higgins' part to do anything other than to put him down, to put him on the ground, something cops do routinely. So if everyone saw, or enough people that were there saw that what Higgins did was absolutely an accident, then staging the whole plow accident totally makes sense to try and absolve themselves of it. Now remember that it's an accident, but if you go to a DA and you say, "Hey, my name is Higgins and I accidentally killed this dude whose girl I was trying to bone," you're going to get murder one. You're going to get murder fucking one. That's what's going to happen. You are going to get
that it was an accident,
one.
but he was sure he would be, that they would say it was a crime.
The DA is going to charge her with murder two.
Yeah.
They're going to get him for murder one if there's a bunch of "I want to bone your girl."
He was the guy who he texted him and invited him over.
So now he's up for murder one, and all of his friend cops are like, "Higgins can't go down for murder one. We know what happened. This is an accident." And even if they testify, the DA is going to go for murder one or murder two. But this guy's going to go 25 to life, without a doubt.
That makes sense.
So let's stage it. Let's put him out on the lawn. Fucking plow will come by. It'll probably be whatever his name is. He's special.
Lucky.
He'll be lucky. He's not going to be so lucky come this morning.
What are you, a writer?
And that correlates with some of the shit that was said by Proctor. They're gonna pin it on the girl. The girl's gonna go down on this one because she rolled up at 5 a.m. and she unfortunately put herself in the driver's seat of this potential.
Okay, Zane Baby came up with this is a really interesting point. There were other people in the house at the time.
Yes.
So in Zane Baby's idea of how it happened, that it was just Chloe knocked him down. He fell really awkwardly on some stairs or something.
Right.
And it was a big accident that he's more injured than anybody expected would happen from a fall.
Yeah.
Then and she goes, the Bryans heard and came in, but they thought maybe he was just knocked out, and then they waited for people to leave. Does that make any sense?
Nope. That's not what would happen. And by the way,
wait. And when they went back in the garage, he was dead.
No, it wouldn't happen that way. They
used his edge to his car to move him and set up as the plow car hit.
So
I like the conspiracies, though.
Yeah, the conspiracy is cool. The only fault, for lack of a better term, there is that, and the testimony is pretty clear on this as well, is that he would have been rendered like kaput right away. And if you've ever seen this, I mean, you've probably seen it on the internet, but if you haven't, like, the body responds to that trauma. Like, it does things like stiffen, and it just posture. it goes. It's not a good sight. It's definitely a problem. It's not like, oh, look, he kind of looked like he went to sleep. Let's go outside and see if he wakes up when we get back. There'll be blood flow, and lots of it. Like, loads of blood's going to come out of that head. I had an injury almost in the exact same spot, and I bled. My God, did I bleed? And I was concussed.
Why do scalp wounds bleed so much?
Oh my God, there was so much blood. It was pouring out of me.
Also, he was drunk too, so his blood would have been a little thinner.
When my brother got attacked by a cat, it jumped on his face. It started kicking and like scraping up his face. The blood the blood pouring out of his face. I called my grandmother. I was like 8 or 9. I was like, Granny, Dougie's dead. Dougie's dead. I called my brother Dougie. He did not die. He just had a lot of scars.
Does he have scars now?
He does.
God.
Okay.
We have more comments.
Let's go. Want to hear it. By the way, for those who don't know, I'm Dale Wheatley. I wrote and produced a movie called Dawn's Plum with Leonardo DiCaprio and Tobey Maguire, and I've been in a 30-year fight with the guy ever since, Leo and Toby. And in a New York Post documentary, they called me a thief and a liar. Well, Leo did, so I wrote a book. Call me a thief and a liar. I had to find a way to fight back. I wrote a book called Too Real, a Hollywood memoir. The reviews are great. Please check them out on Amazon. That's why we're here. We're here to we love getting into this justice stuff. We're all over the Justin Baldoni trial and this trial because I'm living a life of misjustice, and so anyway, that's what interests us. So thank you for listening to my little splurge. What do you got, Angela?
Nancy wants to know, what charge were they hung on last time? Do you remember?
Yeah, they were hung on manslaughter.
Okay. They were hung on manslaughter, but
If
acquitted
I could be mistaken, but they acquitted her on murder.
Okay.
And I think they were hung on the manslaughter charge.
Interesting.
On the DUI manslaughter.
And that was
charge.
before. So last time they didn't have Higgins at the police station.
No.
They didn't have that evidence.
But they had that messy testimony of his.
They also didn't have Kelly Dever retracting her testimony.
I think it was one juror.
Oh, it was one juror.
I'm not positive, but I think it was one juror who would not change.
And everybody else
mind.
wanted acquittal.
And everyone else wanted acquittal. I think they had one
guys?
juror. But don't take that one to the grave, because I don't know why I think it's one juror.
To the grave.
Or to wherever. Don't take it to the store. Don't take it to the bathroom. Don't take it to your bedroom. Definitely don't go to sleep with it. It's horrible to sleep with.
PCAM says, I don't understand why the jury can't know it was the FBI.
Well, I think the reason is because then it would put up an immediate bias into the juror's mind that the FBI then would believe it's something else, or that this is bigger than what's going on in this courtroom, and that there's more to this. And I think it immediately creates doubt where it would be placed unfairly according to the prosecution and possibly the judge. I would think it's very relevant, but I'm just a layman like you. So I don't really know, but my inclination is that the judge ruled that there would be a bias created, that an unfair bias created, because the investigation by the FBI does not imply any kind of, it doesn't create any kind of allegation or point a finger at anyone in particular or anything. You know what I mean?
Yep.
I think that's it. I didn't say that real well, and I'm sorry, but
PCAM says, does the jury know the dog was rehomed? I can't remember if they said that in trial too.
Yes.
Peg is asking, they got rid of the dog anyway, so it wasn't worry over the dog being removed. No, they wouldn't have been worried about the dog being removed. They would have been worried about liability of what the dog, of injuries caused by a dog that was known to have a bite history.
They got rid of that dog because those teeth were going to match that arm. And that was going to be their big trouble. That's the same reason why they had the basement floor redone. Now, the basement floor doesn't say the garage. So if it's the basement floor, I don't care where it is in the house that they got him. And by the way, they could have moved him to the garage.
They could have moved him to the basement, and that he could have continued to bleed there.
Right.
It is really difficult to, and I don't know this from personal experience, I just watch a lot of crime shows. It is difficult to remove blood from concrete.
Well, then they would have to. I don't know this personally. Yeah. I have tried and tried and tried, and there it is. The blood of my former lover.
And the luminol still ends up blue. PCAM is saying, I wish the defense could have used another person that was injured by a dog. Sean from The Bachelorette. I've seen a bunch of pictures online where people are sharing comparison dog bites. There was one guy who was bitten on an arm by a police dog, and they were it was the same.
It looked exactly the same.
It was the same width, same exact width.
By the way,
it was incredible.
Police dog equals German Shepherd.
Yes.
And they were both German Shepherds.
That's right.
That was to me, that was the most compelling thing I have ever seen. Was that guy posted, he goes, here's pictures of me getting bit by a police dog in the exact same spot along the forearm and to the elbow.
The jury didn't see that. And it's a bummer that they couldn't be like, here's an example. Well, because, the prosecutor's expert showed another car accident, completely unrelated, different car striking somebody in a crosswalk at 25 miles per hour, and the guy had a head injury and was really messed up, similar to how John O'Keefe was messed up. However, that car was dented and like bent
bumper,
to
quarter
shit.
panel,
Yeah, the whole
bumper cover,
yeah,
and the hood of the car,
and it was struck on the side of the car, right? Like, so similar to where John O'Keefe struck the back.
And he had internal bleeding, and the victim had internal bleeding.
Yeah, he had
24, 25
liver.
miles, lacerated liver.
Anywho, so they saw that. Peg said, had they investigated everyone that morning, the injuries would tell the story. Yep. Suzanne Ford said, yep, whoever killed him.
Cosmic Urgency wants to know what your letterbox is. He wants it.
I've only just started using it like last year, and then I don't write anything, so it's not even worth, like, I don't really participate. I'm flattered you want to know about my movies.
You got to write more, Angela. You got any more?
Nancy said, why did the one guy say, tell him the guy didn't go in the house? That was Jen McCabe.
Yeah, that was Jen McCabe.
She was telling somebody to tell reporters, tell him the guy didn't go in the house.
Tell him he didn't go in the house.
No, the guy.
The guy.
Like, oh, close friend of yours whose life was lost? Tell him the guy never went in the house.
Yeah, it's such an interesting problem, because to us it sounds guilty, and I think it does to you. It's probably what you're asking. To me, it just rings with suspicion. And by the way, all they need is reasonable doubt, which is why I cannot believe that they haven't come to. Because there's just,
she's never going to be found guilty.
How could you find this woman guilty of anything?
They didn't prove anything.
But the thing about that language, though, before you continue, Angela, is that that language can go both ways.
No, it can't.
Yes, it can.
Because if you're saying tell them the guy didn't go in the house,
you can say that incredulously. Tell them the guy didn't go in the house.
No, but she said it straight away. It wasn't like,
it sounds instructional. It sounds instructional.
You know what I feel like, if you're innocent,
yes,
and you are not trying to implicate, that you're not implicated at all, and you literally do not know what happened, like everybody else,
right?
You would say, we don't know what happened. Tell them we don't know what happened. Tell them we're as confused as everybody else. You wouldn't be giving instructions, tell him he didn't go in the house. Are you saying tell him that the crime scene wasn't in the house? It's just too specific. It's too specific. You would be like,
I agree
tell
with
him
you.
We don't know what happened.
I agree with you. It's just interesting how on paper you can, as a writer, I can write that dialogue in two scenarios and get the same and get totally different results.
Guilty, so you would only be writing it in that scenario. The dog is snoring. She's really honk-shoeing over here.
Cosmic Urgency is like, Dale, please make one so I can follow you, since she doesn't want to let me.
I don't even know what it is.
First trial ended with a deadlocked jury, says Mandy on YouTube. They could not reach a unanimous agreement on all the charges. Actually, that's not true. They acquitted her on the murder. The jury acquitted her. She was acquitted on the murder, and she was acquitted on the other. What was the other one?
I can't remember. But it was 2, and then a hung jury on the 3rd.
There was a hung jury on the 3rd charge only.
It was like 3rd or 2nd.
They had acquitted her on both other charges. So if they had the problem, so it was, that's not quite, I don't believe that's exactly right, Mandy, but you may be right too, because I don't know everything, just most things.
Big Mama Hayes on TikTok said,
Big Mama Hayes is the coolest name ever.
Yeah, it's great.
Oh, fucking.
The fact no other option was looked into should be immediate reasonable doubt.
Exactly. I think that is such a reasonable statement.
He doesn't seem like he was hit by a car just by looking at him. What else happened?
I think that's just like the kind of wisdom the jury needs right now. Why not even look at why they didn't even knock on the fucking door?
Insane.
And there's cops there, and they don't know that they're going to be okay. This guy, they showed up to a scene where a guy had been bleeding everywhere, where he's got injuries. His eyes are blackened. He's got injuries to the front of his face, including a laceration on his eye and glass that was stuck to his face.
If he was struck on that lawn with that head injury, there'd be so much more blood evidence. They should have expected that he was moved or that he ran or something. But that
to
house,
roll up to a dead cop and just be like, oh, clearly this was an accident.
I would expect to find more blood evidence in that house.
And then to have EMT, cops, like just sirens. There's like multiple first responder vehicles there. They rolled up blaring their sirens almost certainly, but we know they had their lights on because we saw the tape. And the Alberts just slept through the whole thing. The Alberts slept through the whole thing.
Insane. Impossible.
They slept through the death of a cop on their lawn and the response to that. I mean, that's just so much doubt to me. That doesn't even make any sense. And then that Jennifer McCabe shows up with Karen Reed and doesn't go knock on the fucking door to a first responder whom she knows is the only person, or persons, if there's more than one there, qualified, thoroughly qualified to potentially save this man's life. She doesn't go to the door.
It is really weird behavior.
She didn't go to the door to get the one guy she knew could absolutely save this guy's life if his life was savable.
Low glow.
I mean, fuck.
Dale.
What
Dale.
is going on?
Can I get to these comments?
Yeah.
Low glow guide is saying, I thought it was 8 to 12 wanted to convict her for DUI within manslaughter.
What?
I thought it was 8 to 12 wanted to convict her for DUI within manslaughter. I think that's why they had the jury instructions
8 to 12.
Time.
Okay, yeah.
I think they're giving the jury a chance to
8 to 12
her,
wanted to convict. Oh, that's interesting.
for DUI.
For the DUI.
Within manslaughter.
And
They
manslaughter.
have these tiers, right? Where they're like, she's not guilty of this, but she's guilty of this other thing.
Yeah.
And so...
I don't know why the defense went with that again. Tanner's here. What's up, Tanner? Good to see you, buddy.
Sparkling with Steph said, can the jury reveal themselves after the case is over?
Oh,
yes,
they will. There's somebody that took 6 or fucking multiple notebooks full of notes. Like they had 5 or 6 like notebooks.
It was 5
That
full
dude's writing
notebooks.
a book.
The jury watchers, the reporters in the courtroom, called him the note taker because he was always taking copious notes.
And he didn't make it to the jury.
And he was an alternate.
He became an alternate.
People are saying that that was a fix. That they took him out of the jury because he was working too hard.
Because he was like, they were like, you're not going to get in there.
It's supposed to be a random alternate selection, but everyone's like, that's suspicious.
We watched it. They have a little bingo thing.
Yeah, but did he have...
Bingo!
Did he only have those numbers inside there? We don't know. Yes, the jury can reveal themselves after the case is over. They often do a little media tour, but a lot of times they don't want to be targeted, so they stay anonymous.
Dale.
Suzanne Ford said the police never went in the house, so how would we know? Polly Mitchell's asking, does the jury know they replaced the basement floor?
I don't think they do. No,
I don't think they do.
That wouldn't be introduced into evidence. I don't even know who. Where did that come from? Where does that come from? I know that they sent investigators to the house after the house had been sold.
Maybe locals know
That one
about
guy went and he did his measurements when there was, I think, new owners.
Mandy's so cute. Hi, Mandy. On TikTok, she goes, oh my God, there's 65 people here.
Yeah.
OMG, guys.
That's cute. It's very funny.
Trish said, that's what got me. They're shady and they didn't go to the funeral.
They didn't go to the funeral. I didn't know that.
I thought it was really, really strange that they had gone to an officer funeral that day.
That day. Yeah, Higgins did.
Yeah. He was really flippant about it, too, in text messages.
Listen, that scene in the bar where he's being like held back, and I use that term lightly because he wasn't completely out of control, like, but he's a grown fucking man. So he was getting rowdy, and it was clear that I've been that guy on both sides. I've been the guy whose arm was grabbed, and I've been the guy grabbing the arm. And I think most dudes have. At least most dudes who go to bars. And Higgins displayed, and Jackson was proper to point it out in that way to the jury, but Higgins displayed, brute machismo kind of shit, Mm-hmm. Puffy chest cockery, Cockery. I don't know. Is that? Can we do that?
Peacockery?
Peacockery. Yeah, no, because peacockery is more like
Roostery? I don't know. I don't know what you're saying.
Got to get out got to bust out the source, man.
Laura Morrissey says, my grandma is a lifelong Canton resident and lives 2 streets over from Fairview. Free Karen Reed.
Nice.
It must be a weird place to live these days.
Where, in Canton?
Yeah, but it's
man.
pretty intense.
Well, they got this.
I bet they're hoping it's over
They got
soon.
like, they also got there's another scandal, right? Some kind of another cop scandal?
Which is just beginning. But in 2024, I think, they finally charged a cop with the murder of a young woman who was... they initially... The investigating police officers initially called it a suicide by asphyxiation. Asphyxiation.
Come on, you can do it. Asphyxiation.
Yeah, which is horrible because they were in a relationship. And it turns out that the guy became suspect number 1 and he was charged. And 2 other cops are implicated in covering up the crime.
Gnarly.
But they did, they said that the motive was because she had become pregnant and he didn't want to deal with that. And apparently DNA evidence just returned that it was not his.
Oh. Wow.
I know. It's so Shakespearean.
As the plot thickens.
I know. It's so tragic.
I love a thickening plot. Better than gravy. By the way, if you guys don't know, we also are live on YouTube right now. On YouTube, you'd be able to see Angela, and you'd also be able to hear us through these nice little fancy mics. But
you can watch me
if
mispronounce
you're happy
things.
on TikTok, so are we. I'm gonna eventually hook up TikTok, but I had another glitch today. Big glitch.
You'll get through it.
Had to restart everything.
On TikTok, Kristen Lee said, if I showed up to my sister's house and there was a dead body on the lawn, I'd demand the cops go in to check.
In me, like, come, like, what? I mean, I would be banging on the door vigorously.
Yeah, you said
but
it.
we know about the 38-second call that happened on the way, or just before they got there. Correct? Isn't that correct?
Yeah.
A 38-second call from McCabe to her sister. She knew her sister was safe. She knew everyone in that house was fucking safe. And if she knew that they were safe, that means she spoke to somebody in that house. And that means they weren't sleeping. And that means they chose deliberately to not come outside when there's a dead cop on the lawn.
Yeah, Juanita said they slept through it, but they answered the phone in their sleep too.
Yes, they do. And they speak for 38 seconds or so. Oh, I'm sorry. I was in the middle of a dream about somebody getting hit by a car and getting killed on the front lawn.
This username is awesome. Glorious Coco.
Wow, that's
said
awesome.
that there were no sirens, but Jen said no sirens. There weren't a lot of cars on the roads, but it still seems unlikely they would sleep through it. Karen Reed was out there shrieking.
Yeah, Karen Reed was shrieking.
You could hear her in all the
recordings. Let's not use my misinformation. Let's use prosecutor Brennan's. He called it bedlam. The
prosecutor did. Yeah.
Yes, Brennan called what was happening in front of that house bedlam, and they slept through it.
Pauline Mitchell said that dude is a Virgo about the guy who took 5 notebooks of notes.
Virgo.
That dude is a Virgo.
That dude is a Virgo, bro. He probably has a line between the page. One for the prosecutor, one for the... he's probably got like reactions.
He probably has like impeccable handwriting. He was probably using different colors.
I subscribe to our handwriting porn, I think it's called.
Yeah.
And because it's dope. And it's like all these people with their perfect notes because I love it so much. Because my handwriting is just fucking terrible.
Oh, PCAM said, I'm pretty sure they don't get to keep their notebooks. Library lady said, will he have to turn the notebooks in? It's true. I don't know that he gets to keep it.
Well, he's taking pictures of them every day. He's got that notebook one way or another. You're going to keep the notebook one way or another, are you not? Are you not?
I don't know.
I'm taking pictures of every fucking page. Are you kidding me?
Maybe they can't take that either. Oh, yeah. Jen said jurors have to turn in their notebooks and then they're destroyed. I'm so mad for him.
Oh, my God.
That poor guy.
Well, look, a part of why we take notes is so that we can pass the test, right?
Oh, man. I feel so bad for him. I am a Virgo, and that would be, like, crushing.
Somebody is asking, do you think it's good that no verdict has been reached yet? Well, so Karen Reed has both. It's an interesting scenario, right? Because if the jury came back quick, then everyone believes, and rightly so, that she'd likely have been acquitted. However, if it goes a long time, I think that's to her advantage as well, because that leans toward a hung jury. So she's kind of got, she's like in that kind of a good space because, if the jury gets back before noon, that's going to be a relatively quick deliberation. It'll be one full day and a little bit of deliberation. If they don't get, if she doesn't get a verdict before noon tomorrow and it starts going long, I think that she can start being reasonably hopeful for a hung jury for sure.
Oh, Kristen Lee said it was the Sarah Birchmore case. It was Sandra Birchmore is the name of the woman. She was found dead in February of 2021, and it was the investigation went on until 2024 before they were like, we found the guy that did it. Lynette Wilson said, didn't John O'Keefe, wasn't he going to report drug sales?
Well, there is chatter about that's what the nephew is in play here, right?
Yeah.
What's the nephew's name again?
Colin?
Yeah, so Colin, I guess the Colin play.
No, not nephew, the son.
Is it the son? Son.
Colin
Yeah,
Albert.
The son, that's right, Colin Albert. Anyway, Colin is supposed to be, there's a rumor that Colin was a drug dealer and that John O'Keefe was about to expose him for that. I just don't believe it. And the reason I don't believe it is because I just don't think John O'Keefe is going to go over, if he's a cop about to expose some family member for drugs, he's going to go over there to hang out. Like, that just doesn't add up. Thank you for the gift. That's very kind of you, Mandy. Do you know what I mean? Like, why would he go there? Like, that's stupid. No, he's not going to go there. He knows the kid's probably there. If that's a subject of his investigation, he's going to go and hang out with them on a party night while he's drinking. I just don't buy any of it. I don't buy a single bit of that. I mean, cops are sloppy, but that's ridiculous. So I don't think that's true. I think that's some kind of rumor. But I don't know shit. I'm just thinking it's probably not true.
Mandy's saying, did you love her lawyer's closing argument?
Her lawyer? Yes. Did I love Alan Jackson's closing argument? It was the best I ever heard, probably. I thought about doing a breakdown as a writer. Because if you're, like, you expect that from John Grisham.
Yeah.
Like, that's how good that was.
Yeah, it was incredible.
It was like reading Grisham. If you haven't read John Grisham, read The Firm.
It's really good.
I remember I dropped that one on Angela. She didn't see it coming.
Yeah, it was like, I don't know if I want to read like a legal, lawyer thriller. I don't know if that's going to appeal to me. And I ate that shit up.
Ate it up. It's a delicious,
so
delicious book. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a reason why those authors are super famous.
Yeah, and there's a reason why it was such a popular movie. And the movie, as kind of is normal, kind of pales in comparison to the book itself. If you haven't followed us, please do. We have so much fun on this channel with so many different people. Many of our regulars are hanging out with us on TikTok. Come over to YouTube. They're hanging out. I say there are regulars, but they're really just our friends, and we just hang out. We talk a lot of shit. I only say we're our regulars because our stupid faces are the ones on the screen. But we have a good time.
Your face is not stupid.
And what we really enjoy is on this channel, or whatever it is that we call these things, is how you guys participate.
It's fun.
Yeah, it's mostly you guys participating, and not in a way where, like, I don't know, like on TikTok I saw these like channels where they were having people talking, and people would just go on, and then you gotta like be like, excuse me, I gotta cut you off because you're killing the vibe, Instead, we have like more of a chat, and it keeps things kind of like even keeled a little bit. I don't know. I'm just rambling, but I'm so glad you're here. I do hope you'll follow and come back and hang out with us again.
Polly Mitchell on TikTok said she was a teenager, I believe. Sandra Birchmore. So the story is that she joined like, what is that, like after school program or whatever, some sort of like they have like cop camp for teens.
Yeah, so like the cop. I used to go when I was a kid. We used to have police and pals.
Yeah,
bowling.
Like police academy, but like it's for youth outreach type stuff.
Yeah, we used to play bowl. We used to bowl the police, bowl against the police.
So Sandra
Fuckers
Birchmore
got
got involved.
They did.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead. Sorry, I was just cracking a bad joke. Go ahead.
Sandra Birchmore got involved with this in Canton PD.
Okay.
And she developed a relationship with he was like in his late 20s and she was still a teenager. So he was grooming her, this cop. Okay. And then many years later, she was living on her own and she had an apartment and they continued their relationship. And she became pregnant. This is the allegation that she became pregnant, and I don't know what discussion happened between them, but he soon after murdered her.
Wow. But
it turns out that it's not even his because they ran DNA. And so I bet he feels pretty stupid.
Crazy, man. That's a crazy story. By the way, pardon me. I wrote the book behind me. It's called Too Real, a Hollywood Memoir. And if you want to check it out, go to my website in the link, and you can get it for 20% off. Just put in Too Real 20 at checkout, and you'll get 20% off the paperback. And I'll ship that sucker to you today. If you want it signed, I don't know why you would, but if you did want it signed, I'd be glad to do that. You just have to hit me with, in contact form and say, yo, sign that book I just bought. I'll be like, yeah, sure.
I want to get back to these.
And I'll ship it to you. Go ahead.
Heather Moore, this is a great question. What happens or can happen if it's another hung jury?
Heather Moore sounds like something like, like Evermore.
Oh, yeah, it's a great name.
Heather Moore.
That's a wonderful name.
I love it. What was the question?
What happens or can happen if it's another hung jury?
Well, then there'll be then the trial will be over, and then it'll be up to the prosecutor to whether they want to bring charges again. I don't listen. Somebody brought up that they could charge her 10 for a decade, for the next decade. I don't know that that's true. I think that, but if it is true, then I think it's something we'll see go to the Supreme Court, because there's no way that she can afford, and that it would be fair for the state to drag her through a third trial if they cannot get a conviction. And they cannot get a conviction if, in fact, they don't on this round, because they don't have the evidence. It's fucking simple.
I don't know what. Yeah, I mean, I can't imagine that the taxpayers are going to want to do this again in their town. I can't imagine that, like, real estate is going up in Canton, Massachusetts, with this fiasco going on.
No,
I'm sure that the taxpayers eventually are going to be like, can we not?
When I don't know what if I'm outraged by the $400,000 spend on the painting of the fucking elbow as a non-Massachusetts resident whose taxes did not pay for that absolute fucking shambles. That guy is like on a boat somewhere, bro, with a big cigar going, yeah, I was in the Karen retrial. He didn't want to damage the car so he could get the resale value for it.
I know.
He was scared to do the experiments necessary because he didn't want to damage the taillight. Hey, what did the car do?
He was like, I conducted this experiment at 2 miles per hour because I'm not going to get struck by a car.
He's like, well, of course I'm not going to go faster than 2 miles an hour. That would probably kill me. Fucking idiot.
Beth Scott said 3 of the cops that are in Karen Reed's case were in this Sandra case, and they're under investigation. Yeah,
it's just a corrupt place. That cop, the other evidence that I thought like destroyed the fucking the prosecutor this trial was the officer the female officer who got promoted and who said that
she transferred
what she says on that stand, her job depends on it. I thought that testimony was just so clearly in the favor of. By the way, Tanner's cousin took Tanner's book and is now reading it.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah, I love that.
User has corrected us. Colin Albert is the nephew.
So I was right.
So you were right. Yeah.
I thought I heard nephew. So the nephew, Colin, I don't think he might be a drug dealer, but I think if anything, he was just covering up. Like of course he's a drug dealer. He's got cops for family.
Of course he is.
I'd be dealing drugs with a fucking sign on my fucking right on my front lawn. Dale's most excellent drugs for sale.
Did you know that statistically the majority of drugs that get dealt in the entire
are
United
from the
States,
cops?
No, are from frat houses. That I
had a brother-in-law. That's all he did. He had the thickest wad of fucking money ever. I was like, Dan. He's like, this is small. It's like the one under my bed's much bigger.
Oh, this user, you guys are so informative. Thank you so much. Chow said Helen Rafferty confirmed he did contact them about drug sales in the neighborhood, but not about Colin specifically.
That O'Keefe did.
Yes.
Yeah, but not about Colin specifically.
Peg said, I enjoy your podcasts.
Oh, that's so fun. Listen, it's interesting because thank you for coming. I hope you'll continue to hang out with us. And if you're not following, I hope you will. And also, please come and check us out on YouTube too. We could use the love on YouTube. I'm trying to get to. By the way, when I get to 500 followers on YouTube, I'm gonna give out 5 books. Live access removed.
Yeah. Did we just get ended?
Yeah.
Oh no. Oh no. It's weird because it says that you're still live, so I could click on it.
Hang on, I'm just dealing with this now because what a fucking this place, bro.
Okay, well we can go to YouTube has a lot of comments I haven't gotten to yet.
What does it say? Yeah, we'll be right. Let me deal with this like access being denied nonsense. Of course, it's like we have good numbers and they just destroy us. Violation, hate speech. Hate speech?
Hate speech? Who did that? Did I do hate speech?
No.
I'm always doing hate speech. Sometimes I can't even help myself. Thanks for being with us on YouTube, everybody.
Okay, guys, I'm back. YouTube completely fucking. We had like fucking 80 people there or something. 60 people. It was like fluctuating between 60 and 80 some odd people on TikTok, and of course TikTok knocks me off because that's what TikTok does.
Hey, don't worry about it.
That platform is so fucking annoying, dude. I don't understand it. It's as if we're just talking. You know? Hey, you fucking thrown off the platform. All right, welcome to Two Live. No, Two.
Two Live Real.
I need a shot.
Real Two Live.
All right, what's going on TikTok? I mean, no, TikTok's out of commish.
Erica says on YouTube, I think it's possible Karen Reed is responsible, but I am nowhere near beyond a reasonable doubt.
Live access suspended. You cannot go live until late June.
Right? No, it doesn't say that.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
I'm sorry, I hate speech.
You hate what?
Your TikTok. I said I'm sorry, I hate speech. And
was it you?
I have no idea. They don't tell you, right?
Erica, Angela, did I do hate speech? Did I do a hate speech? That's very funny. Where were we? We were in a great conversation when fucking TikTok.
Well, it continues over on YouTube. So
I know, but I'm just like it's interrupted everything, and I'm trying to get myself back on track, and I apologize. It's not my fault though. Fucking dicks. Ugh. Honestly, bro. I think I hate TikTok because it just all it does is like frustrate me.
Yeah, I know. You seem really frustrated.
I am. Okay, what's going on?
Okay, so Cosmic Urgency said.
Yeah.
About Stephen King books.
Yes, I love them. Which one do you want to talk about?
I read Cain Rose Up by Stephen King from Skeleton Crew. He said, Cosmic Urgency said it's whack. He didn't have to pull that one because it's lame, I guess.
It was just
didn't
bad.
Inspire a single kook like Rage allegedly did.
I have not.
Did you ever read the Skeleton Crew?
I never read the Skeleton Crew.
It's a collection of like I don't know how short the stories are,
I
but there's
think
a
we have
bunch
it,
of
actually.
like
Do we
20
have
of
it?
them. We don't. No, it's I actually just because of Cosmic Urgency, I put it in my cart.
I haven't read any of his.
His story collections.
Yeah, story
Oh, they're
collections.
so good.
You know what fucking sucks, by the way, is I was doing live readings for the book, and I was like committed to doing them every day.
Okay, but do you want to think about it later?
Yeah.
Mandy said, "I love it when mom and dad fight."
God, man, I'm really mad right now.
I know you are.
Very upset about it. It's just not cool. All right. What else you got? Is that all for comments? Anyway, so there we are with the Karen Reed trial. Hopefully, hopefully we have a decision tomorrow. I would really like to have a decision on this thing, wouldn't you?
Yeah, like a clean verdict so that she can be done with this and move on with her life. Yeah, what do you think Karen Reed's going to do after this? Because she's not going to go to jail.
Well, she's going to become like she's a celebrity, so she's going to do a press tour, which is going to be worth a bunch of money. She's going to be getting all these exclusive interviews and then non-exclusive interviews. So she's going to take down both like 6 figures in interviews, if not more, if not 7. She may already be writing a book or and working with either a ghost or a co-writer or something.
Right.
Ooh, I'd get my teeth in that one. And then
she should do a whole tour, like one of those Dare tours, where she goes to schools and she talks about the dangers of drunk driving.
Yeah.
She should be like, because man, if she hadn't been drinking that night, I don't know that they would have felt so strong about trying to get her in trouble for this. I don't know. I feel like that didn't help her out. She was wasted and driving.
Yeah.
The what ifs must be horrible.
I mean, I'm so glad I don't drink anymore. And every time I'd ever even be like slightly buzzed or just like even driving with a couple of beers in me and just like wondering like, what the fuck if something bad happens? Because I told you all the nightmares that happened in my own family. I had a cousin whose fiance was driving down. He had been drinking. He was driving down the road, and a drunk guy fell off the curb and he hit him and killed him, and he ended up going to jail for vehicular manslaughter while under the influence.
And the guy just fell off the curb.
The guy was drunk himself, and he fucking stumbled and fell off the curb. He was my
driver,
cousin's fiance was doing the speed limit, was
he
driving
couldn't have avoided
normally. Could not. No, literally, like it was like instantaneous. He fell over just as the car was passing through. His head hit the grill. It was over.
Horrible.
Yeah, went to jail for I don't know. I can't remember what the sentence was, but it was more than 10 years was the sentence. So it's just trouble. It's fucking trouble. It's always trouble. It's not always trouble. It can lead to such big trouble. Like DUI is terrible. I've gotten one way back when. It cost me like 10 grand. It was a fucking nightmare. 3 months suspended license, all that stuff, It's horrible. But I mean, what a break compared to Karen Reed.
Yeah, right.
Like, and here's a situation where, again, kind of like my cousin's fiance, what did Karen Reed do? What did she do? She didn't do anything. She didn't hit that guy. We know that. We know that Karen Reed didn't hit anybody. There's no fucking evidence of that.
I was really bummed that there wasn't more of an emphasis paid to the other cars that were parked on the street that made it literally impossible for her to back up into John the way they said that she did. There were other cars parked on that street. She could not have backed up and struck him at that spot where, like, at the curb. It's just physically impossible because of the other cars. But none of the accident reconstruction people, like Welcher and his blue paint, and he did like all these he took these like laser measured images. He explained how he does it, but then he did like a big reconstruction to scale, and he didn't have cars on the street. Well, it's like because he showed up in the day when there weren't cars on the street, right? But they had a gathering at their house, and so there were cars there parked.
It just doesn't make sense. It never makes sense.
So I just wish, there's probably too many things for the defense to put forward without getting pushback, but I wish that was more emphasized.
I do have a few other stories. Do you want me to cover them?
Yes.
Starting with in the Diddy trial, they tossed a juror, and this was, if not the last black juror, one of the last black jurors. So that's pretty intense. They bounced him because apparently he was being inconsistent about where he lived. I guess in some statement or some capacity, he said he lived in Bronx in one hand, and then on the other hand, he was saying that he lived in New Jersey. And he had also been charged with fraud in some other previous encounter in his life. I can't remember what it was. I read what it was in the article. I don't remember what it is to tell you now, but anyway, so they bounced him. Judge citing in his decision, or I think it's a male judge, but in the judge's decision said that that's why we have alternate jurors, and this guy just brings too many, he offers too many questions, so let's bounce him now. But prior to that, there was talk of him getting bounced, and I guess it had leaked in some way to the press because I had read this like kind of like a primer article on it earlier in the morning prior to. So I guess there was a motion filed that had probably provoked that article because there was no resolution to it, but it was saying that on Diddy's side, the lawyers were like, we want a mistrial if you're going to bounce all the black jurors.
Oh yeah, well,
it's not. I'm a
little bit more concerned about.
There's not a racial issue here.
I know, but is it typical that if you've been involved in the law and you've had like a felony or a misdemeanor charge, a conviction, that you can't serve on a jury?
Yeah.
Is that true?
Well, it's not that. It's about whether or not so if the juror has this history and then he or she is also bringing these inconsistencies, at least this seems to be what the judge is talking about, right?
Yeah, it's weird though, because I've moved to houses very often, and especially if you're stuck in jury duty, maybe you lose your home, like there's a lot of times where this is really difficult for people. So it doesn't seem totally strange that he would. And like, did he move to New Jersey because it's easier to get to his jury duty? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. There
could have been valid reasons why his address legitimately changed, and not that he was lying.
Totally.
But I'm concerned that okay.
Well, that's the other thing is like, so it's interesting you bring that up because the defense was saying to the judge, hey, let's bring the juror in and let's let him answer it. And the judge was like, nah, we have alternates. This juror brings up too many questions. We're going to bounce the juror. And he's like one of the last black jurors.
Well, good for him. He doesn't have to do jury duty anymore, for however long.
I hope that this isn't like black jurors getting bounced because they're worried that, that black jurors are going to vote color, because that's bullshit, He apparently this guy worked for the Department of Corrections, although he's not a corrections officer.
He wouldn't have been picked in the first place. They definitely selected for whether these people are going to be
show any bias, right?
Show any bias towards.
I mean, you don't really know because you can lie your way through those, but ideally, you don't want that shit. Anyway, jury number 6 is gone. They brought up an alternate, and they promoted an alternate, I guess, and that's the way it is. So. See what happens, but drama in the Diddy trial, and they're out, and the mogul's lawyers are arguing racial bias. So the judge didn't grant it, and we'll keep our ears peeled. Justin Bieber, man, I gotta say, man, this guy's going through some stuff right now, and I feel for this kid. I've been feeling for him for a long time. Do you know there was an instance where Leo bullied him? Do you remember this?
Yeah.
They were out publicly, and Leo just started bullying him in a crowd. And
I thought the story was that Justin Bieber wanted to go over and say hi to Leo, and we only found out recently that they probably know each other from these Diddy parties. And so I don't know how they knew each other, but they're both super famous and have the same, probably overlapping famous circles, maybe same representatives, whatever. But Justin Bieber thought that he could go up and talk to Leo, and Leo apparently was a giant dick about it. Just fucked up. I just don't know why people can't just be cool. But maybe they have beef. Maybe they have beef that we don't know about.
When Leo was fucking around with him, then I felt terrible for him. And I've always felt a little bad for the guy because like he came up so fast.
Yeah.
He just came up like in an instant.
Justin Bieber?
Yeah.
Yeah, as a kid. It's not cool.
And he's like a Canadian kid, and then he gets thrust into this big giant world that he doesn't know what the fuck this world is. Like, this is a crazy world, So yeah, man, I just feel for the guy, and now he's going through, he's saying he's traumatized in a heated exchange, a text exchange before admitting that he's broken and that he has anger issues. And
I read that. Did you read it?
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was really, really like exposed a lot, and I'm surprised that he released it. Because what if like a friend reached out to him and was like, "Hey man, it's not cool that you lash out at people," which seems like the sort of thing that a good friend would do, to be like, "Hey bro, you got to check your behavior." Like, I'm telling you as a friend. But a
depressed guy's not going to see it. So here's the problem that that relationships run into with depression. Like, I lost all my friends through my depression. Mm-hmm. I am friendless. Literally 100% of my friends are gone while I was depressed. And the whole time I wanted.
You weren't lashing out at people.
No, but I was ghosting them. I went into my, I retreated. I completely retreated. I'm still trying to find my way out of it. The whole time I wanted them to save me. The whole time. I fantasized about them saving me. The whole time in my head, I'm like, they're gonna call. They're gonna understand like how close this is, how bad this is, how sad I am. And they didn't. They got further away. Every single one of them, it seemed, took offense to who and none of them noticed that I was falling so far gone that I could have been a statistic instead of a friend. And so I think that when I see something like this with Justin Bieber, I remember that. I remember that feeling. And I bet you a part of that anger is that there was no one there to rescue him through all of it. When you go through life being severely victimized, and he was victimized in ways that we can't understand, because it's real easy to be able to like separate him from us because of fame, fortune, and talent. But on the human level, we're all obviously built the same, and in terms of our psyche and our emotional construction, it's all very similar. We all, and your baseline is what's relative. So if your baseline is $50 million a year and limos and an escargot. That's your baseline. That's not going to make you happy. You know, if it disappears, it might make you sad, but as it's there, it's your baseline. You're gonna have all of your downs and your ups. It's why great artists like Taylor Swift can still write compelling and beautiful shit, despite the fact that they live this completely other world, live in this other world in terms of life, luxury, convenience, security.
I think probably Britney Spears is a really good comparison, because like Justin Bieber, just like Britney Spears, was just being exploited for like decades.
Right.
And everybody in, like, every associate that he had was invested in exploiting him. And he was also invested in exploiting his talents. But I feel like it's probably really easy to get into a trap where everybody wants you to be the thing that makes a ton of money for everybody, and nobody is protecting you.
Yeah.
Nobody's defending
100%.
you. And so I feel like that's how Britney Spears got into such a bad situation, where nobody was looking out for what was going on with her. They were just like, well, as long as we can keep exploiting her and everything stays cool, then everything's good, instead of being like, what does she need?
I think you're making a great point, because I think that Justin Bieber is he's definitely in that position for sure.
I feel like that it makes sense that he would have this anger problem and lashing out at people if he doesn't feel like anybody ever defended him.
I am heartbroken for him.
It's messed up when a person can't see that the person who's calling them out on their behavior is probably one of the ones to keep close, you know? Like,
well, that's what I'm trying to say, right? Because there's that, right, which you brought up, which is more the superficial friend who, and he's calling those guys out. He's calling them out publicly, like not just this guy in this text, but he had said just like the other day, and because I've been kind of tracking some of his statements, and the other day he said something about how, he's done with transactional relationships. That's not love, I think was the quote that I read. So there's that, right? Which that's the wild thing in terms of the water and the oil in these worlds, because you don't know which is which one's there to love, embrace, grow, nourish, keep you alive, or which one's there to, wait till you fucking slip up and they can take all your shit.
No, we were just hearing about the guy who got Brian Williams from the Beach Boys.
Brian Wilson.
I'm sorry, Brian Williams.
Brian Williams
like, that doesn't sound right.
He's a news anchor.
He's a news anchor, yeah. Brian Wilson at the Beach Boys had a guy like that who came into his life and actually, helped him, saved him, like was like a bit of a caretaker, and then he
he became his conservator.
Yeah, but then he moved in and like tried to manipulate how he does his art, and like
then people were like
started really abusing him and really demeaning him and being really nasty.
What's funny is that people weren't noticing the abuse against Brian Wilson, but when the guy started fucking with his music, everyone was like, whoa, 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 whoa.
See what I mean? It's because everybody wants to exploit the talent, right? But nobody's protecting the talent. It's
Justin Bieber.
It's messed up.
That's so to your point, right? There's the superficial friendship, but then this friendship, which is the text, and I think this is a friendship where this guy seemed, at least in the text, to be a good friend. He like I want to be there for you, I want to help you. There's not a friend who was exploiting him necessarily, and I can't possibly know the whole story. Obviously, there's only a smidgen of their relationship, but there was nothing there. I felt like this guy was being subjected to mental illness, and here's what happens. So while you're in mental illness, you're having the battle, whatever it is. So for me, I still have my ruminating still. It's very bad. I'm arguing almost on a daily basis with all the people who left me to die, and that's how it feels when you come out of it. So when you come out of it and you're better, I'm better. I survived, and it's a fucking miracle in my opinion, but I survived, and now that I'm seeing life in a way where I want to live, and I feel great, I think about I think about the state of that I was in. There was only one person who stuck it out with me, and that was you. I mean, there's a few friends who did, but they weren't really exposed to it, so I won't exclude them. But I'm saying that from the friends with whom I had the proximity and the closeness to, that would give them the wherewithal to intervene, try to find out.
But here's the difference: is like, okay, so
why would I withdraw? Why would I go away? And this is where I'm looking. So not to belabor me and my story, because this isn't really what it's about by any means. I'm only comparing it because I think about what he's going through right now. So it's real easy to look at the way that Justin Bieber is behaving and say, well, he's kind of fucking earning it because he's being a dick. But if it's a dramatic departure from the behavior that you once knew of this person, that's when you intervene. That's when you realize that there's something bigger at stake here, that there isn't just a guy becoming a dick. He didn't wake up in the morning and become a dick. His brain is breaking. His body, his soul is coming apart. And it's coming apart before your eyes.
Yeah.
And he's going to lash out. And that has nothing to do with you.
Yeah, but here's the thing is like, how do you reach somebody who's hostile to being reached? Like, so he put that text out.
Yeah.
And so he doesn't know how sick he sounds. Because anybody who reads Justin Bieber's part of that conversation can see exactly how unwell he is. His thinking is really dysfunctional.
Let me give you the answer to that question
obvious.
because it's such a great question. And I'm going to give you the answer that was given to that somebody gave to me when I asked them about how to help somebody who I knew was in trouble. Okay? So I had a friend. I knew they were depressed. I went to another friend whom I admired and revered in the way that he handled his relationships. And I said to him, here's my problem. What do I do? And his response was twice the love. That's what he said to me. He said, Dale, you have to give this person twice the love. This person gave me two genius pieces of advice in our relationship. First one was twice the love. I gave this person twice the love, and I at least know that I was there for them as they were going through their trouble. I won't say that I was in any way responsible for them making out of their trouble, but I know I didn't make things worse, and I certainly also know that at times I might have made things better in the moment, in whatever moment, and it was because I added twice the love. And so I'll never forget that advice. It's advice I'd give in a minute. And the other advice he gave was when my mother was diagnosed with stage 3C ovarian cancer, and he said, call her every fucking day. Never miss a day. And so I called my mother every day for almost 2 years. I never missed a day. I called her every single day. And my mom beat cancer, and when she was years after she'd beaten it, she told me that it was that calling every day that was one of the pillars on which she stood to get through this. It was really touching and beautiful. But why I bring this guy up is because that guy turned his back on me when I got depressed. That guy, the twice the love guy, he had a kid, and he made me the godfather. And then I was withdrawing. And instead of figuring out why I was withdrawing, he got angry because he became protective of the relationship with his son that I was supposed to have as a godfather. And he betrayed his own advice. He betrayed his own heart. He betrayed his own soul. And this is the part that is heartbreaking for people like Justin Bieber as they're going through it, and then as he emerges out of it. And that's the hope, of course, is that he's going to emerge out of this, right?
I think that what you're talking about with your situation is very different than Justin Bieber's situation. The way that his is manifesting is very much like an addict. I would not be surprised if there was some sort of like addiction component to this, whether it's addiction to substances or something else.
Okay.
But the reason why is because I don't know if you guys know.
If it was Justin Baldoni, it would be a porn addiction.
God, I know, which isn't even a thing.
Stupidest thing I've heard.
There was an author whose really excellent book, Gabor Mate. I'm probably butchering his name. Anyway, he's right about some things and wrong about others. But
Matty Gabor.
He's really great at his book called In the Realm of Hungry Ghosts is about him and his career as an addiction counselor in like the Skid Row of Vancouver. I don't know what it's called.
It's called East Hastings.
East Hastings. Okay.
Yeah.
So anyway, he talks about how if you think about it in terms of like this, like I think it's Japanese mythology where they think of addiction in the terms of you're basically possessed by a malevolent spirit, and it's like a hungry ghost that is never sated and always hungry, and it doesn't care about anything other than eating. And it's a really, really great allegory for what happens to addicted people. And this is what I feel like Justin Bieber is doing, where it's in order to, if the only priority is the addiction, which is the addicted disease's priority, right? Then it's going to lash out and reject and shun and remove itself from all of the helpers. And so I think if you're trying to care for somebody who's addicted, you have to recognize that their behavior is going to be doing that. The behavior is going to be pushing you away, but you have to do this twice the love thing that you're talking about and just reject all of that bad behavior and never reject them, because The only way to beat the addiction is to continue to stay in the person's life and continue to try and influence them positively.
Yeah.
I just feel like it's so different because in your story, you were retreating.
I'm only talking about, like,
story,
it's not about comparing us. It's really just about talking about how you have certain expectations from your friendships. And when those things start to break down, when you see them falling around you, you'll create either a distance. In this case, it's going to be in some case.
He's trying to isolate himself.
So he's breaking them off. He's breaking it apart. And yes, it does make it challenging for them on the other side of this. But the awareness of it being a separation through disorder rather than, an actual fissure in that the what was the embodiment of their relationship.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, imagine a guy with Justin Bieber's history. He has been under a microscope and been like chased by paparazzi since he was a preteen.
Yeah.
So him being scrutinized is probably a huge trigger for him. And so it's not difficult for him to sit very comfortably in the space of like, oh, you're going to criticize my behavior when I'm like angry or acting out in my traumatized state. You're going to criticize me. I don't want to be criticized by anybody.
Yeah.
But it's the criticism that leads to him self-improving. I mean, I don't know what he thinks is going to happen if he just completely isolates himself. Maybe he'll feel like that's where he can find peace.
That's not how it works. There is no thinking. That's not how this works. Like when you're in these states of mind, your brain is not working on that. Your brain is working on your brain is submerged in problems. It's submerged in pain. You're drowning. You're not, there's no light. It's why there's a reason why it's referred to as the darkness. I think a lot of people are believing that Justin Bieber is showing signs of deep depression and deep depression. I've been in it at the very, very bottom of it. And it's just darkness. You wake up and you can be in the most beautiful day. Everything can be so perfect. And it just feels like darkness. It just feels like darkness. And so, it's, and so you can't, there's a lack of reasonable thought. There's a lack of a reasonable facility for thinking.
I believe that's what led him to release those text messages because he doesn't sound good.
No question.
I'm
just hoping for the guy. I'm hoping he gets through. Yeah. I'll move on to the next one, but I'm just hoping he gets through it because I know that when he gets out of on the other side of it, fortunately he's Justin Bieber, so most of his friends will be like, yeah, well, I'm right back here at you, buddy.
What sucks is that even if he gets out on the other side, he doesn't get any peace. He's still going to be under scrutiny by everybody. It just sucks. It sucks that this guy can't just like disappear for a little bit, collect himself, He needs a fucking vacation is what he needs to like go someplace and go hiking every day and not have to worry about it being a celebrity for just a little while,
Delicate is, by the way, in and out. She's still she's in and out of the chat because she's still in Arizona. I'm so glad you were able to join us at all. I wasn't expecting you, so I'm so glad to see you. Bruce Willis's daughter says that Father's Day is hard amid the actor's dementia. She said, I wish I had asked you, and this just killed me. I wished I'd asked you more questions while you could still tell me about it all. And I don't know if you've ever had these kinds of feelings. I've had these kinds of feelings. It's so funny. It's like my mom and dad. My dad is now, I called him for Father's Day. He was like, hey, son, I'm just walking home. I'll call you right back. Never heard from him. And he also thought I was my brother. And so, he has been running this apartment building that is like the size of a town for like 20 years. And the stories, man, I mean, he's had people jump off, like, committing suicide. Like he's had a
lot of things happen in a time.
And then good, like crazy horrible good things. And like, just like professional athletes living there temporarily. Like it was like a town. Crimes being committed, of course, and just the whole thing. And my dad was kind of the sheriff, and he had just all these great stories. And I'd always thought like it would make a great novel. So I'd always thought, one day I'm going to sit down and just like with my mom and dad and be like, tell me every story, and it's just not really possible now. So it's just like hearing the regret out of Bruce Willis's daughter reminded me of my own regrets, and that's only the one. I wanted to do that with my grandmother. I mean, she was the only person I knew from 1908. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Do you know? It would have been nice to be able to talk to her and like,
hey, what was 1908 like?
Tell me a little bit about tell me what it was like when you were 10 years old. That was 1919 or 1918.
Yeah.
In 1908, tell me a little bit about like what it was like when you were 10 years old. But I never asked those questions, and so I never got to taste that flavor. And I always regretted that. Just that, first of all, not only did that stuff not get passed on down to me, but also that she didn't get to tell the story to me, because I bet you there would have been a few in there that she would have been reminded of and just been glad to say, you know? And so Bruce Willis's daughter's regrets fell hard on me. I was just like, man, I feel that pain. I think so many people do. It was a really
so he didn't write
excellent quote to.
He didn't write a diary or memoirs or anything, huh?
Well, it wouldn't answer necessarily the questions.
Yeah.
In fact, it would probably just beg for more.
That's true.
Anyway, so I told you that the Who was having issues.
They want to do a reunion
They're
tour?
trying to do a reunion tour, and they're being old men. And you know, apparently Pete Townsend basically confessed that he's never really liked touring to begin with, and he doesn't even really like being a rock star. It's just what he ended up doing with his life. And
Are you serious?
yeah. And then he
That
also
is so
said,
funny.
that he wasn't really enjoying the idea of going back on tour, and that got Roger Daltrey mad.
He was like, well, if you don't want to do it, I don't want to do it either.
That's right. He was like, you know what? Fuck you. You know, we're musicians. We do this for. So Ringo Starr's weighing in now on this whole controversy. Ringo Starr, drummer for the Beatles, in case you don't know, he said that he never liked that little man that runs that band. He body shamed him. He said, let's see if I can do it. I've never liked the way that little man runs that band.
And they're like, who fucking asked you, Ringo?
I never liked the way that. I can't do any accents from the lovely UK, not correctly. Well, so anyway, I just thought, like, isn't it one of the things that I'm enjoying in my middle age is watching all the bands that I once idolized. The Who is not one of them, by the way, but all of the bands, they're all having this drama, and I'm reading about it. Like, I've got a feed that's just rock band feed.
You know why? Because they're all still boomers.
Oh my God, they're Judas Priest
Boomers
and
are gonna
KK
be-
Downing, and
Boomers are going to be difficult, whether they're rock stars or your grandparents.
the fucking drama in rock bands is real, dude. It's like most of them don't even hang out ever. Did you know that? It's like, I didn't become a rock star. I wanted to. I play guitar. You know that. I had a band when I was a kid. I sang like crazy. But part of what made me want to be a rock star was this idea that the camaraderie of hanging out with my boys, traveling the world with my boys, playing in a band. You know, that was what it was all about. What I found out is that almost all the bands hate each other. The members hate each other, or you know, there's enough division in these bands that it's just nothing that I dreamed it would be.
I have a theory.
Yeah.
From 1937 to 1958.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
These are like old boomer years.
Yeah. Okay.
Pluto was in Leo.
Oh.
And so that is power struggles around fame.
Oh.
There you have it. That's why they're like this.
Yeah, but it's not just boomers. But yeah, okay. It's a lot of boomers.
Like the solar expression of their own like creative vibrancy and essence, right? That's going to be power struggles about that. And I think that's why we boomers have these problems. That's why it's like the me generation.
It's so funny though.
Pluto and Leo.
Like, if you're Roger Daltrey, right? You're Roger Daltrey. Like, you're top of the shelf rock star. Like, you're legend, Hall of Fame. You know, one of the greatest rock opera records ever created, so on and so forth. So you're just like, you got rock god status. And
Like
then Ringo Starr talks shit about you. Do you know what I mean? Like, you're rock god, and then like he's not like Ringo Starr is, you know, he's the Beatles. Like that's it. That's the top of the top. And you know, I wonder if Roger Daltrey was like, fuck, you know, like how old is Ringo? He could have died first before he spoke about me. Like, you know, that it's like, how old is he now that he's talking shit about Roger Daltrey?
I'm sure they love that they're being talked about, these guys.
It has no upvotes.
Well, that's because
It's just interesting, guys. It's just interesting. It
all
just
the boomers
interests
are on
me.
Facebook.
Well, I've been following this little fucking Roger Daltrey. Like he's been a like a whiny little shit about the whole thing. I say little shit. I'm not trying to shame him. I didn't know he was short. I've never liked the way that little man runs that band, and that sentence is so poetic. I love the English. I love the British. They just speak absolutely beautifully. Amanda Seyfried says that it's not brave to do sequels. It's just for the money, and it's just frustrating. And there's this growing sentiment. You know, we've heard this kind of before, but now there seems to be almost a choir of stop with the sequels again, which I remember there was a time before this when this happened. And I
But
believe
they don't care. They don't care what the
no, they do.
what the actors are saying. They want to make money.
No. Well, they do, but like I believe that there's a hearkening of potential change here because the last time this happened was like after all of the Star Wars sequels and the Superman sequels, and we were just getting bombarded, and there was all this stop with the sequels, and that was when Miramax really rose up. So if if these calls can echo long and far enough, you might start to see a shift and change in distribution, and that's where it's at. Because like, what films don't get anymore is distribution.
Yeah,
like art films don't get distribution.
That's who decides, right? The distributors.
Yeah, that's who decides. And so if you've got the movie stars out there, I mean, Amanda Seyfried is not like that big, but she's big enough. But if more and more are making it known that sequels are bad, you're not going to get Tom Cruise doing it because that's all he fucking does. But if you can get a few really notable actors out there, it could start shifting the market. It's why they get paid the big money. It's because they literally shift the market. So, but it's just, again, it's always about the group. It's about how many people do it. Anyway, I just see it growing. It's a growing sentiment. I wanted to bring it up again because now we have Amanda Seyfried, and we had, I can't remember who it was now, but there were several others now have come forward.
And apparently there's journalists asking them about this. These are probably not unprompted answers,
Well, it's great because it also, that growing dissatisfaction in Hollywood about sequels means that it can approach the money's not going to be enough, situation. What? Back to Bieber for a second. You know what really bothered me about Justin Bieber? He got into this shit with Scooter Braun, right? Which I guess he had a tour. I guess Scooter Braun was promoting this tour.
No, what happened was that Justin Bieber had a tour and he canceled it halfway through. And
yeah, but why would that? And Scooter bailed him out.
And the
Scoots, as I say, but yeah.
The financing company wanted a refund. I mean, they wanted their money back. And Justin Bieber couldn't afford it, and Scooter Braun bailed him out. Right,
but why would he then owe this scale of money?
Well, so Scooter Braun bailed out Justin Bieber, but it was a loan, and then Justin Bieber was like, "Well, I can't pay that." And then
I thought that Justin Bieber was because remember it was like Justin thought it was $1 million, turned into $8 million. So that's an accounting.
Apparently they had a debt between them.
Yeah, but that wouldn't be an audit that took 6 months by Price Waterhouse.
It was the audit was triggered by Scooter Braun's company was alleged to have either by themselves or by Justin to have been over
commissioning Justin.
Over commissioning.
So he has a relationship with Justin either about the tour or about. But he has some kind of.
I think it's his music licensing. I don't know what they're. I think he owns the music, doesn't he?
I don't know. I don't know what Scooter Braun's play is, but either way.
I'm so not interested.
Let me go with it. Let me go with this.
I don't know about
let me just go with this. So Bieber canceled his tour halfway through the tour, and the promoters out there wanted their money back. Well, half their money back. And he didn't have the money. That right there is like the red alarm. He could be, it's a for-profit thing. He did half the tour. He didn't have the money. The money was a matter of a few $1 million, is my understanding. It's a great deal amount of money. It shouldn't have been a great deal amount of money. And the money that they wanted back was the money that that was escrowed toward him. They're not asking for money back for the gigs that went down.
No, they wanted half because it was halfway done. It seems reasonable.
It just troubles me that he has no money.
This is actually one of the reasons why we're seeing that musicians are canceling tours and performances, but they're not admitting that COVID is the reason. Is because they have these. Well, I'm not talking about COVID. I'm talking about why is he broke? Like my whole point is why is. I'm saying they're trying to avoid liability for having to pay for these whatever they get insured for their tours, and they have reasons that they're allowed to stop a tour for one reason or another, and COVID isn't one of them. That's why they never mention it.
Well, I wasn't talking about that, but yeah, that's interesting. But I was just more like focused on like this whole I'm just completely baffled by the fact that this dude is Justin Bieber, and he couldn't afford to refund the money he was paid.
What is super weird is that okay, I feel
so he's like check to check.
I know. What's really weird is like, okay, then record another album, right? Real quick. Just put out you know, just do like.
Well, do the tour.
No.
Finish your job.
Well, yeah, there's one thing, but he could do like an unplugged album, like have it like super stripped down. It would sell like crazy. Just like make more money, bro. Like you're a huge celebrity.
The whole thing seemed weird to me. The whole thing seemed weird. Like, where's his money?
That's why.
Where's it going? Who's it flowing through?
He must have been canceling the tour because he was too sick to work, too sick to be creative, too sick to, you know. That's probably why he was in that hole.
That's not what he's saying. But that could be true, I suppose. But there's no...
Because it's just strange to me that somebody at that level of fame can't just generate money. Like, he could just be like, oh, okay, tell my agent to get me on a commercial and then, like, generate a couple $1 million there. Like, I don't know why he doesn't just use his celebrity to earn more money. It's so easy for them to just make it. You know, like, if he did, like, some sort of, like, brand endorsement or something, he could just make a bunch of $1 million right there.
You'd think. I mean, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. It's a complicated world. I mean, the amount of money that you get you're lucky if you see a third as the talent. So if you make $10 million, you're lucky to see 3. That's after taxes, agents, lawyers, publicists, etc.
You'd be like, get me as a host on The Voice, right?
Yeah.
Make a few $1 million that way.
Well, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, it sounds easy. I don't know. I just found it troubling. I was like, why is this kid broke? He's been at the top of the game forever.
He's been exploited.
Well, this is it.
Without people protecting him for a really, really long time.
Yeah.
It's probably been since the beginning.
Jeffrey Dean Morgan says that he's auditioned 0 times. Jeffrey Dean Morgan of Grey's Anatomy. 0 times since he left Grey's Anatomy. That's how tough it is. That's how fucking tough it is.
He was on Grey's Anatomy.
This cat was like a regular on Grey's Anatomy.
Jeffrey Dean Morgan.
He
works like crazy. He's saying he doesn't audition. He just gets cast.
No, he's saying he can't get work. He's saying he can't find work.
He was in Walking Dead. I know that much.
Well, that's a long time ago.
Okay, but I have to look up his IMDb. Why? I don't think the context is that he doesn't get work.
It's because he doesn't because now he's just money.
Now he's just he's such a pretty face. They just cast him.
Oh, that's why. I was like, God. Okay, fuck that. I take it back.
I think he also does a ton of voice acting too.
Speaking of Grey's Anatomy, Eric Dane did a... So Eric Dane, I've told you guys on this live before that I knew him casually, you know, back in the day, back in the 90s. And I liked him quite a bit, actually. He was really, 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 really arrogant. But, like, you know, he was pretty as fuck, so I understood it. And I liked him. He was a good dude. And when I found out that he had ALS, it really hit hard, just because, again, we weren't close. I don't want to misrepresent a relationship that wasn't there by any means. But, again, yeah, it just hit hard. I was super sad for him. And so he went on The View, and he said that he only has one functioning arm already.
From ALS?
Yeah. And he said that the second arm will be completely dysfunctional within a few months.
Oh, no. That's so eerie that he knows that he has a timeline for
and that he's got an arm that doesn't, like it just stopped working.
That's so eerie. Can you imagine your doctor being like, okay, this is the timeline for when you get to continue using your arms.
Yeah.
And this is the timeline when you get to continue eating without like a tube or whatever.
Yeah.
Horrible.
It breaks my heart.
So people get diagnosed, why? Because they're like, my fingers are tingling?
No, it's like you're not gripping. You can't, like, your cups are falling out of your hands.
Oh, okay.
That kind of stuff. You start getting the weaknesses.
But by then it's already progressed.
At that point, you're going to get diagnosed. Once you're diagnosed with ALS, it's like apparently within 5 years, most people die within 5 years of diagnosis, and it's rapid decline. There was this somebody had just posted actually their progress over 2 years, and they were like, and I guess he's been doing it on a regular interval. I don't know what the interval is, but this ALS person makes videos of his progress. And it is just devastating to see. I can't imagine what it's like to watch your loved one deteriorate in such a way. But, you know, again, just Eric Dane just hits hard. And I don't know, man, if you've got some spare coin and you can throw it at ALS, maybe that'll help I don't know how to make any difference in this terrible fucking disease. But my God, and I just feel bad for the dude. Cosmic Urgency is laughing at me because I read headlines and not articles. I do read articles. I didn't read that one.
You should be scolded for that. You
Why?
should be
I
shamed
read
for
articles. I don't read them all. You don't scold me. I scold you.
Because you make assumptions is why. Because you make assumptions and then
I made an assumption there.
they're not very consequential, so it doesn't really matter, but you should do better. You should read the things you want to talk about.
I read most of the things I want to talk about. Thank you both very much. Listen, I don't think you guys respect my day. Did you know that I did a live reading today and that I was just about to tell all of those people on TikTok that I'm going to do a live reading tomorrow?
Nope.
I did a live reading today.
Not anymore.
I read the book today, and
because I guess I did a hate speech.
we only had a couple people, but it was fun. Read the chapter 1. I'm going to read chapter 1 again a couple of more times this week. We'll see if I get reinstated at TikTok. I fucking hate that platform.
Well, here's the thing: is like
it's like a necessary evil, but I hate it.
How are you incentivized to build anything there if they're just kick you out,
they just keep knocking me down, bro. I just got an invite yesterday to open up a TikTok shop. I've tried. This will be the 4th time that I tried to open up a TikTok shop, and they keep telling me that I'm some kind of scandalous human being and that I can't be in their shop. And I'm just trying to give them my Shopify store.
Mandy was saying that it's probably like somebody on Leo's side who just keeps reporting your account.
That's probably not far from the truth.
What is very weird is that you don't get warned. I think that's really strange.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's horrible. I don't know how anybody can rely on this professionally.
I guess they don't.
Well, they're just doing their like whatevers. They're what do they call those? Face-offs or whatever. By the way, freak-offs. Can we just talk about freak-offs for a second? Just the word. I hate it.
Diddy has never been skilled with words.
I fucking hate that.
You know what?
Freak off.
Okay, I'm not surprised that he didn't come up with a better word for that, because have you heard the names he gives himself?
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. Puffy Combs. Puffy Combs.
Puffy, Puff Daddy,
Puff
Diddy,
Daddy, P. Diddy.
Brother Love.
Brother Love.
I mean, that one was at least something.
Yeah, I mean.
But what the fuck is Diddy? Oh my God, what are we doing?
The guy's a wreck.
So of course he calls them freak-offs. He does not have an excellent command of.
I saw a headline where something about him having wanting a freak off for Christmas or something, and I'm like he forced people to say that. Come on, babe, we're gonna have a freak off. What is that? I just want lychee nuts and an episode of Brooklyn 99.
Like for Christmas.
Yeah, freak off. Can I get a book? How about a book? A really good one.
He's like a cringy, horny relative, He's horrible. He should be shunned, but instead he's rich. Everybody has to put up with his fucking weirdo behavior.
I'm kind of stuck in I'm kind of stuck in Beloved right now. I haven't read it for 3 days. It's so
put it
dark.
Back on the shelf.
No, I'm gonna finish it because it's beautiful. Toni Morrison's an amazing writer.
I know that.
I'm gonna
all
finish
those
it.
things can be true,
I'm gonna
and you
finish
can
it.
also just move on to.
I'm gonna finish it. I know I can.
What you need? You know what you need? You need a horror novel. That's what you need. You need a thriller. You need something that gets your heart rate up. That's what you need.
Okay. Well, you got something?
Sure.
What? Yeah. Well, you said I got what I need.
No, I can find one. I can find a title for you.
What do you think, Cosmic? What do I got?
You could read The Long Walk again.
I'm gonna recommend this book right now to all of you. I'm gonna recommend this author to all of you. His name is Clive Barker. Angela knows his husband, and
that's a pretty big book.
It's fucking great. It's a big book, yeah. This is part 1 of 3. I've only read the 1. Oh, look at these old books with the advertisements in the back where you have to clip them out. Remember this?
Dale.
Look at this shit.
You have to listen to this.
You got to clip it out. You got to be like, oh, you got to check off a box. Yes, give me this one. And then you wait for it in the mail. Oh, I used to love getting a book in the mail. Did you ever buy a book out of the back of a book?
Never.
Oh my God, it was the funnest. You sit there, you take it out, and you send it in the mail, your little self-addressed envelope or whatever. And then 2 weeks later, your book comes in the mail. It's got that smell, and you're like, oh, it's great.
It does sound awesome.
What's funny?
Our friends in the comment section are funny.
Yeah.
Tanner said there's only one brother love, and that's Mick Foley. That's right, dude.
That's really
he doesn't
funny.
get to own that.
That's a good one.
Cosmic Urgency said that it's a segment of the podcast at this point. I'm assuming that's you complaining about TikTok. Cosmic Urgency said, I've seen people crying, literally crying, because their TikTok account got deleted after gaining thousands of followers. It is not reliable. I quit trying. The more popular you are, the more haters are reporting you.
I can't stand it. I can't stand it. It, like, first of all, I was rolling in my whole, like, and it's like it just totally interrupted the whole flow of the live. It's just, I'm fucking tired. And not only that, but they funnel you through their own system, so they won't, like, just give me a stream key so I can just put it through OBS and just stream my live the way I want to. I got to go through their whole thing, and today it, like, broke 7 different times, and it was very frustrating. I was like, I came to get live at like 2, and I didn't get on until nearly 2:45. I'm live tomorrow at just look for me between like around between 1 and 2 p.m. I'm going to be live reading from the book. I'm reading chapter 2. I'm going to read chapter 2 tomorrow. Well, I don't know I'll figure it out. I'll talk to who's ever here. But I'm going to do a series of these, and I'm going to keep you're going to be able to access the live readings on YouTube for about a week. And then I'm going to take them down because I don't want the whole book just for free. I don't know what to do.
I don't know what you should do.
So I'm going to just take them down until I figure it out. But I also am going to leave them up so that people... So I'll just read chapter 2 then tomorrow. And I'll just leave them up for a week at a time. So you can read chapter 1. I mean, you can listen to chapter 1. It's there now. And then tomorrow, like I said, I'll do chapter... Come join the live. Listen to it on your own. I don't care.
He'll be by himself, though, because I'm going to be doing other things.
Yo, Cosmic, hit me up in an email if you got a chance. freedonsplum@gmail.com. Or just don't go to my website. Hit me up there. I want to ask you something. Tanner, my cousin is reading the book now, and she started it after I bought it. That's so great. Thank you for getting it. That's like a really, you have no idea how exciting that is. Like, I love that there's a couple thousand books out there, and that they might be getting exchanged and thrown around like that is really thrilling. I want there to be millions of books out there. Millions. I can only do it with your help. So you must read in public and wave it in the faces of people who don't have books and say, you must read this. You sir.
Have you read this book?
Have you read this book? These prose from a man from Canada.
It's a page turner.
Can't put it down. I put it down once and I was panicked immediately. You guys are lovely.
Tanner says, correct the spelling on the first episode, bugging me that you spelled real wrong.
I did? On the first episode?
Dale.
Oh, it's so annoying. I didn't spell anything wrong, Tanner. Obviously, I know how to spell real. R-E-E-L. R-E-I-L. R-I-E-L.
How are you feeling, Dale?
Yeah, it's time to go eat some lychee nuts, people. You guys are wonderful. Loved hanging out with you. Sorry for that interruption by TikTok. They suck so many butts.
We're in a better place.
You guys are wonderful. It's so great hanging out with you. We will be back tomorrow, maybe with a verdict. We'll see. I'm banned from TikTok, so I can't even get on my TikTok for my verdict call. Man, I put 6 months into TikTok. I have 9,000 followers.
You know, attachment is the source of all of our suffering. Isn't that what the Buddhists say?
Yeah.
Don't get attached.
The first episode. The first episode. Okay, yeah, I'll fix that. I can't believe I spelled anything wrong. Ugh. My book was so fucking filthy with errors, and oh my god.
After we printed it, we still found errors.
Oh my god! To this very day.
You said could 9 instead of cloud 9.
Instead of cloud. Well, that's obviously a typo.
I couldn't let it go for days and days. So we found it after.
So painful. All right, shall we? Mm-hmm. Good night, you guys. Good night. Never mind. All right, you guys. See you tomorrow. You guys are the best.
Good night, everybody.
Stop.